All right, Moon Goons, we went big this week. It is our 100th episode. No witty, no funny little intro here. We watched Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. We watch it so you don't have to, though you probably have. So let's get on with the show. You know what time it is.
Horror, so bad it's scary. Splitting up is never okay. Plot, who needs it? Don't turn on the lights. Cars don't ever start, but that's alright. Running upstairs instead of out the door. Good acting, what do we need that for? Horrible horror, so bad it's scary. Enjoy the show, but not really.
What's up, Moon Goons? It is a special day today. Today is the 100th episode of the Horrible Horror Podcast, the podcast where we watch the worst of the worst in horror movies. Movies so bad they're scary. I'm your host, Mr. Marshall Hampton. With me today is an all-star panel of guests. Our family, extended family is here. But as always, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Aaron Southworth. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty darn good. It is our 100th episode. Our 100th. And to be perfectly honest, when we started this, I didn't know how long we'd go. I was pretty surprised that we made it a year. Now 2 and 100 episodes, which is pretty bitchin'.
It is indeed. Like I said, we have an all-star cast today. With us is Chris and Sarah Samples. They are back. You know them. You love them. Guys, thank you for coming. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, we're so happy to be here.
Thanks for having us, guys.
No problem. And finally, the man, the myth, the legend. I like my women like I like him. Mr. Coffee Doug Jones is back in the building. Coffee Doug, how
I
you doing?
love your love for me, Marshall. Oh man, that just gave me goosebumps and ooh. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I love that we all get to do this together. This is awesome. That
Yes.
Chris and Sarah are here at the same time, and then your guys' 100th. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Aaron said it. I kind of agree with him. Like, I did not think. It's an honor that we made it this far. It's a privilege. So all you Moon Goons, thank you for listening. Keep listening. We're going to keep doing it. So that's awesome. Now, with that said, I would suggest you guys find somewhere comfortable to sit, kick back, get a nice beverage. This is going to be a long episode. I'm not going to lie. It's probably going to be long. So you might want to listen to this next time you're at the DMV or sitting in a hospital waiting room. Who knows? It's going to be a long one, but bear with us. Before we move into the show, we have a few things we want to announce and got kind of a big deals for our 100th. Aaron, if you've been following us on our Instagram page, Aaron has been doing a giveaway. Well, right before we started recording, we did a live Instagram video to announce our winner, and we're going to announce the winner again on the episode just in case they missed it. So, Aaron, who was the lucky winner of our 100th episode giveaway?
So the lucky winner is Spooky Girl 67. Spooky Girl 67. You win a Horrible Horror Podcast t-shirt, 2 Horrible Horror Podcast beer koozies, and 5, count 'em 5, as we have 5 people here, 5 movies.
It turns out there's a serious running theme of 5 for this episode.
There really is a running theme of 5, yeah. So the movies are Black Sheep, Lover's Lane, Pork Chop 2, and of course the favorite is Don't Fuck in the Woods.
Don't Fuck in the Woods.
So that's congratulations again, Spooky Girl. And also like to give a quick shout out to the Charmed Vixen. She is a gal who makes some pretty cool shirts, makes some pretty cool horror themed items out there. She's got an Etsy page that you can check out, which is etsy.com/shop/the Charmed Vixen. She made a banner for us for our Twitter and YouTube page that we're going to be putting up. She makes some pretty cool stuff, so check it out. So thanks again to the Charmed Vixen.
Yeah, her Scream Billy Loomis shirt's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
we saw that one. That was a pretty neat one.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was pretty awesome. So with that, take one more big thing to announce. It's been 100 episodes. So we thought, now what better time than to open the doors and start filling the hall of our Horrible Horror Hall of Fame, or shame, if you will. Now, we have 3 categories that people can be inducted into our Hall of Fame. And we have actor, actress, we have director, producer, and then we just going to have like an overall production company for people who are producing these atrocities of film. So we have our first class of inductees this year. So without further ado, let's go into that. In category 1, our actors and actresses, we have 2 inductees. We have Sean C. Phillips is our first inductee. He has been in, I think, at least 5 or 6 of the movies we've done. He's Bloody Mary 3D, Jersey Shore Massacre, Camp Massacre, the Fat Camp one. He was in Fat Camp one, and there's some other ones he's been in, but he makes a lot of appearances.
I think he was in Pork Chop 2 also.
Was he in Pork Chop 2?
Yeah.
What was the
Yes,
one?
he was in
He was in Pork Chop too.
He was an extra in that.
One of the movies we're giving away.
Yes, he
Or
was in that.
that Spooky Girl is getting.
Yes.
Spooky Girl 67.
So some quality film.
He's Sean C. Phillips is awesome. I've got to talk to that guy. Yeah, he's really cool.
You can, speaking of cool, you can follow him on Instagram. I believe it's Instagram at Cool Duder.
Yeah.
He seems like an actually really cool guy. I would actually love to
Duder.
talk to him. So maybe we're gonna try to reach out to him. Maybe we can actually have him on the show as do a Skype interview with them in the future. That'd be awesome. And our second inductee. Really, I want to save the best for last here. The hedgehog himself, Mr. Ron Jeremy.
I knew it.
has to go
I
in.
knew it.
That guy has appeared in more of our horror movies than anybody else. I think he's closing in on like double digits now on the movies
Given.
we've done with him happen to be in. And we're not like intentionally finding movies. It just
He just
happens to show up everywhere.
Doesn't he do other movies too?
Yeah, I believe he does do some
Does
other
he do
movies.
some kind of acting?
He does something else. I'm not
He's
sure exactly
known
sure
for
what
something.
it is.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Horror movies, right?
Yeah, I think that's
horror.
he's just
Right.
known for
Did
horror
you
movies.
say horror movies? Or,
Horror.
I was confused there too. Though.
All right, so that takes over our actors and actors. Moving on to our director producer category. Our first inductee is Mr. David S. Sterling. Now, this guy has brought us such atrocities as Alice in Murderland, Bloody Mary 3D, Night of the Dead, Friday the 13th. Aaron, I know I'm missing some others one here.
I try to block those movies out.
But he's been a thorn in our side for a while now. So he is well deserved going into our first class of Hall of Fame. And finally, for our studio, our production company, who else right now than Full Moon Pictures? We love Full Moon.
yeah.
They brought us such gems as the Ginger Dead Man, Evil
yeah.
Bong,
Oh, God.
the Killer Eye, and one of our all-time favorites that still we love, Killer Eye Halloween Haunt,
Yes.
which will forever be it just ingrained in our hearts.
It holds a special place.
It
in my
does.
heart for sure.
It does.
I love that movie.
We
I
do.
just
I
love it.
I
Amazing.
love that movie. I mean, come on.
it's
It's
good,
become a
but
constant rotation in my Halloween.
Yeah, it totally has.
Lord.
So congratulations to the first class of inductees to the Horrible Horror Hall of Fame or Shame, whichever one we want to call it, one of the two. It doesn't matter. But there they are. So now, on to the big show. Here we go. Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, everybody. You all know it. We went big for this one. We really thought, let's go with something big and find a proper...
I think you had to.
We haven't done a Nightmare on Elm Street film. We've done a couple Friday 13th,
Yes.
but, just because he's a legend doesn't mean there's not some crap in there.
That's
Of
very
course.
true.
Truth.
Very true. And I went through the whole series, and to me, I think 5 is right up there as being the worst of all of them. I think it's, in my opinion, it sucks.
Well, I mean, they went to the well so many times.
Yeah.
It's eventually got to dry up.
Yeah.
Right?
But you think about even Friday the 13th movies, which are more of those than Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
True.
They went to that well a lot more, but even those were at least, I think, better than some of these Nightmare on Elm Street sequels.
Well, true.
I guess, I don't know. It's just
But
weird.
Jason Voorhees doesn't talk. I mean, all he does is you just got to come up with ingenious ways for him to kill people. I mean,
That's true.
There's only so many one-liners you can give Freddy.
Well, the thing is, like, I went back and watched Nightmare on Elm Street 1 last night.
It's awesome.
And I forgot how good the first one really is. I'm like, wow, it's really a solid horror movie. It's great. And then you look at these sequels, and it's like, what the fuck happened?
It's
like
not the same Freddy.
No, and
No,
Freddy went from a
absolutely.
kind of scary guy. Now he's fucking comedian. He's
He's
dropping
kinda funny.
one-liners. He turned into a comedy now.
Well, he became such a phenomenon in the 80s there. Like, it was ridiculous. Freddy Krueger was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that with I think after number 3, after Dream Warriors,
Which is to me probably my favorite and the best.
it just caught fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just fire. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but you'd see Freddy in Fat Boys videos, DJ Jazzy the Jeff and the
Right.
Fresh Prince videos. He had a 900 number. He was on Sally Jesse Raphael. It's like he was on MTV. He was everywhere. Freddy Mania.
He became a household name like Bart Simpson.
Right.
Almost. It
Yeah.
was comical.
You know, one thing too, like with just talking about his character getting so crazy, like the one-liners and all that. Think of a sitcom you watch from the first season to like the 7th season, and how ridiculous the character is by season 7. Like doing things no normal human would do in any regular
That's a good
everyday
point.
situation.
That's a really good point.
And I feel like they just like took that character and just boom, like it tried to explode it.
Like Fonzie jumping the shark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
very, very good point.
Hey.
Yep.
So, moving on. The movie was released on August 1st of 1989, pretty much exactly 1 year after number 4, the Dream Master. I think it was Dream Master came out, because they were just trying to. At this point, they were, like you said, it was a height of Freddie Man. They were just trying to crank these things out as fast as they could.
The first one came out in '84.
Yeah.
This one came out in '89. So within 5 years, 5 movies.
Yeah.
You know.
So exactly. I mean, Friday the 13th was kind of the same way. They just but they really started cranking out the Nightmare on Elm Street ones. It was written by Russ Craven, but really only the character's Freddy. He gets credit. He gets a writer's credit for Freddy. The actual movie was written by John Skipp, Craig Spector, and Leslie Boheim, directed by Stephen Hawkins. The cast. Everybody knows Robert Englund, so yeah, everybody knows that. Yvonne is played by Kelly Jo Minter. Now, she has 39 credits to her name, and including some pretty big 80s and 90s movies. She was in Doc Hollywood, which starred Michael J. Fox, New Jack City, House Party, which is the Kid and Play classic,
Love it.
Summer School, People
Summer
Under the
School.
Stairs, and The Lost Boys, which are some classic great movies right there.
Yeah.
She was huge in the '80s, I believe.
Yeah.
Summer
recognize
School,
her immediately.
love Summer School.
Yeah.
Gotta love Summer School.
And then Alice, the main girl, is played by Lisa Wilcox, who has 38 credits. Now, she also played the same character, Alice, in Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Other than that, I didn't really go into a whole lot of what else she was in. And before, I'll mention one more thing, but when we come back, is Doug has a story to tell about that. There is a cameo
I do.
by the Nuge. Ted Nugent makes an appearance in this movie.
Seriously?
As a band member. Very brief, very brief.
Very brief.
But he is in the movie. Now,
I missed that completely.
yeah, it's there.
The Nuge.
But Doug, you said you actually have met Lisa Wilcox. You had a run-in with her.
I have met Lisa Wilcox.
So tell us about that experience.
You mentioned that you don't know many of the other films she did. Well, I can fully explain to you every one of her fucking films, and let me tell you why. First off, let me start off by saying Lisa Wilcox is a very nice person when I met her. Very, very, like, welcoming, and she was at a Horror Hound convention.
Oh, yeah, Horror Hound. Okay, I've been wanting to go to that for a while.
Awesome. I highly recommend it. We should all go. You guys should absolutely go because you'd love it. You just absolutely love it. It's either in Cincinnati or Indy or whatever. They've got a magazine that comes out, which I think I brought you guys one time just to check out. So my girlfriend and I go to the Horror Hound convention. I'll try to make this quick because I know this is a long podcast. But we go on the Friday kind of like earlier when it's just opening. And when I go to anything like this, I don't want to walk up to stars and talk to them really, because what are you going to say, kind of? Like,
You were great.
Exactly.
I loved you in that one scene.
Exactly. Like, and I don't care about, like, signatures. I never have. Like,
Right.
at a comic book convention, you get an artist to draw you something pretty awesome, but I don't need your signature and to meet you like that. If you're in a bar, I'll have a beer with you. That'd be great. But she's at the table and she's by herself. Nobody is at her table. Now, later on, a lot of people were the next day or two, but at this time, a lot of the other tables were full and she's just sitting there. And my girlfriend was like, are you going to go talk to her? You know, because like I was excited to meet Heather Langenkamp, Nancy.
Okay.
She bailed. She bailed. She couldn't make it to that one. So I was like, I'm going to go talk to this girl. Because I watched 4 and 5, 4 a million times as a kid. So I walk up. And then, of course, I got my girlfriend just standing right behind me, which is just, like, it's awkward in the way of, like, she's going to laugh at every dumb thing I say. So I'm trying not to say stupid things, but it's the equivalent of when you go, like, guys, when you go to hit on a girl in a bar and you just, like, shit out your mouth. Yeah. It's like, I was exactly what Sarah just said. I'm like, so I like your movies, and you're like, what are you in these days? And I said like such stupid stuff, and she was just like smiling and very, nice. But after talking with her, I felt like I was like, well, I gotta buy something because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're peddling their stuff and getting their name out there again and whatever, and that's fine. That's what it is. So she stood up and took a picture with me, and she was like, no, you don't have to pay for that or whatever. I was like, okay, just took it on the iPhone. But I was like, well, let me buy something, I was like, what all have you got, And she had some pictures, some cool pictures from the set. But then she had this stack of DVDs. And I was like, what are those? And she goes, well, those are like some of my best scenes and stuff, like it's just like a compilation. I was like, oh, how much is that? And she was like, $25. So I was like, all right. Now, granted, I went to this Horror Hound convention, like, not really with limited funds, but I was like, I kind of want to watch what I spend here. I don't want to be spending hundreds of dollars, you know, and that's why I don't buy the stuff from the tables, really. So I was like, I'll buy that. She signs the DVD. I carry it around. Go up to the hotel later, and I was a couple beers in, but this is the DVD that she gave
there
me.
it is.
There's Lisa Wilcox. I'll let you take a
looks
picture of
nice.
that.
She's good.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, again, let me just say, she was extremely friendly and like very nice. But I paid $25 for this. And it's Lisa Wilcox, The Ward Agency, which the phone number's on there. It turns out it's an audition tape. And I can't even call the number if I want to because she signed over the fucking digits in the phone number. So
Can't hire her.
I put it in the hotel room, and it was like scenes from her on like Highway to Heaven and these weird shows, no horror at all. And it was like these weird clips that you could make no sense of because a casting agent would look for this certain thing, but I'm not casting her in my next movie, like, because I'm not making a movie. I was like, what is it? So the whole weekend, my girlfriend was just like, you spent $25 on that fucking DVD. So if you want to know her previous work, Marshall,
Oh, there it is.
There
We'll pop
it
that
is.
in.
Highway to Heaven.
I thought you were going down a completely different road. I thought it was going to be like her best scenes, you know, like this is my best threesome scene. This is my best, you know. I was like, oh man, her
Aaron,
star has fallen.
And she tries to get on that Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, train to success,
Oh,
the sex.
God.
That's where my mind was going.
if that was what was on that DVD, I would have paid $50 to $100 for that shit. But she,
best
apparently
facials.
she goes to all those conventions, and she's very, very nice. And
Be wary of her best scenes.
Don't cast her. Try not to.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, cool. That's awesome story, man. That's, all right, let's move on to the movie itself. The steak of our steak and potatoes here. The movie, we open with like this kind of crappy sex scene and the opening credits, and it's shot in this like really blue light, and it's super close up. So much as you can barely even tell what you're even looking at.
I
Like,
thought it was like a weird, smooth, mountainous range.
know.
yeah, and you don't know what you're looking at. It's so
There's
weird.
like a foot in there that comes in.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a foot. I get that. Like,
Now, guys, does it in that when you watch that, like you just said, a foot, and you're like, why is that foot there? So don't you wonder, like, do I think the guy is hot or the girl is hot in this situation? It's very tricky. We've
Yes.
talked about this
Yeah.
before. I know we have. Like when they
Yes.
trick you,
When
think
they're-
you see a nice ass, and then you see the dude that it belongs to, and
you're like, oh.
Yeah,
I guess I'm gay now.
because he is smooth.
Yeah.
He's hairless. So it is hard to tell. I'm just looking at bodies writhing around with like perfect beads of sweat on them. I can't tell. I'm like,
It's like you just took a spritz bottle to her.
should I be getting hard or not? Oh, just go with it.
I'm already
Cool for me
invested.
to be interested in both of them. Though. So like,
Right.
either way for
You're
me,
fine.
I'm
I'm
like,
just-
I'm
going
just trying
with
to
them.
figure out what I'm seeing.
Oh, God bless women. All right. After the sex is over, our main character, Al, she gets up, takes a shower. And right off the bat, guys, you know nothing good ever happens to anyone who takes a shower or a bath in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. That's just a given. Plus, to make it worse, no boobs are shown. We do get some blurry side boob and ass, but that's about it. And of course, this is no different. As soon as she's in, the drain starts to like cough up like shit-colored water.
Oh yeah, the plumbing is very, very fucked up.
Yeah, they need to get a plumb like
mean-
Roto-Rooter over that place stat.
Oh, the poo water.
Yeah, water.
So it bubbles up, and it's brown goo that's coming out of the shower, and so she decides to bend down and check it out.
To touch it.
Rather than get out of the shower,
Right, like, I'm not
get away
she
from
doesn't
it.
move her feet. Like, oh, let me stick my hand in there.
Oh, shit water. Shit. God.
Maybe it's the poop is in there. Poop out.
Who shit in the shower?
So,
I just imagine Mr. Hanky from South Park
Yeah.
just jumping out of the thing.
so the shower head itself begins to like move a little bit, and the water pressure gets like kicked up to extreme levels. She tries to turn the water off, but the handles don't work, and they end up getting blown off by the severe water pressure. And as this happens, the tiles on the shower wall begin to fly off, and the shower, begins to like fill up with water, just like fill up, so it's like a pool now.
Yeah, like
Girl,
right there,
you're
like-
drowning in poo water.
Now I should have looked this up. I wish we when we did Death Spa, because the same thing happened in Death Spa.
Oh, it did.
Same thing. Shower tiles are flying off the wall. I wonder
we
which one
dissed
came
it
first.
then too. We dissed it then.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this reminds me of Death Spot.
Yeah, totally. So she struggles to get the door open, but of course it won't budge, and the water continues to rise to the point where she's like floating in the water, and she's pretty much completely submerged. She's holding her breath, continues to pound the door. Finally, the door flies open, and Alice falls out into like a dark industrial metal hallway. She's naked and wet. She stands up, and a series of large metal doors keep opening at the end of the hall. And this takes us like this old crazy, the old crazy house, a mental asylum, where hundreds of crazy inmates are roaming aimlessly around in the large metal room, which, my God, there had been like no, like, I guess, regulations for the insane at that point.
Great organization in
I
this
mean,
place.
just throw them all in a giant room and let them wander around.
Well, I worked in a psych ward. That's exactly how we did it.
Right? We just let the crazies roam
Stick
around
another one in
together.
there.
I mean, that doesn't seem safe.
Now, the big thing about this thing that like everybody wants to say, oh, did you see Robert Englund in there? Because yes, Robert Englund is in there as an inmate without any makeup on, so the camera actually
Yeah,
focuses
it's
on him.
creepy.
And they
Alice,
put the habit on her, the nun thing, or
yeah,
whatever it is.
Alice turns into a nun,
Yeah.
wearing a white habit, and she's got a name tag that says Amanda Kruger on it. And at the top of the stairs, there's these two like orderlies that are taking a head count.
Dude, this is so funny because he's like 72, 73, and these crazy nuts at the bottom are all just milling about. There's
Like-
no way.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Turn on the lights and see cockroaches run and try counting them.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
equivalent.
Right.
So one word is like, come on, there's 100, let's go. And so they give up, they leave, and they lock doors behind them, trapping Alice inside.
Why would the woman be on the floor anyway with the guy? I mean, if you're going to put anybody down there, why would it be the nun?
Yeah. Well, the only thing I
Your
get is
lady.
that
The
again,
young nun.
Yeah, get in there.
at the time, like way back, in the day when this would have been, nuns would have gone in there to like, maybe help care for the inmates. But you're right, like
By
they
herself,
should, yeah,
though?
they should have been. Like, the guys were in the room technically. If something happened, you would think that she'd be escorted or something would happen.
Yeah, but this is obviously the dream sequence
I
I mean,
know, it's true.
there's it's very still Freddy-esque. There's like fleshy walls
Yeah.
and
Right.
goo hanging around, so it's
chains
very
dangling.
dirty.
I love how
Chains
100,
dangling.
100 crazy people, probably mostly violent dudes, got chains dangling from the ceiling.
If you can get it, you can use it.
So they trap Alice inside, and the inmates just swarm Alice, and we fade to black, and we fade in on Alice waking up in the bed, screaming next to her boyfriend. But boom, the boyfriend turns out to be Robert Englund, inmate version, who pins her to the bed. She wakes up screaming again. All is clear. So in true nightmare fashion, we get the double dream fake out right off the bat. Get that out of the way.
I liked it. It kind of freaked me out. I was like, this is good.
That was a good scene.
So, yeah.
That was a good scene. I agree.
Because Robert Englund's just a creepy looking dude.
Yeah,
I mean, and
just-
he's good at being creepy.
Yeah.
So we jump to the high school graduation for the class of 1989. Alice is there, and we meet our core group of Freddy fodder, characters, and their parents. And we have Greta, the pretty rich girl who is being pushed to be a model by her mother. Yvonne, the girl on the swim team of some kind of ethnic background. Mark, the goofy, cool guy who I think is supposed to be the funny guy as well, but he's just weird. And then Dan, the star quarterback, and also happens to be Alice's boyfriend. So a really weird group that I don't think would ever really hang out in high school together, really.
No.
But it's kind of interesting because it looks like they're trying to appeal to every aspect of their audience.
Right.
Every high school niche.
Yeah.
So we've
you're
got
right.
the nerd, we've got the jock, we've got the pretty girl, we've got the ethnic person.
It's the breakfast
Breakfast
club.
Club.
yeah.
Minus the
It really is.
ethnicity.
Yeah. Yes.
So the graduation scene is really, in my opinion, really boring. It goes on way too long. In my opinion, here's all you need to know from this scene. One, Yvonne has swim practice till 6:30, and the coach is giving her key so she can lock up when she's done, which leads to them deciding to throw a graduation pool party later in the day.
Something about the graduation scene, though, which is kind of funny because, what's his name? Dan, the star quarterback?
Yeah.
Right.
Star quarterback, best in the state. And then they decide to bring the coach to graduation. So he's being recruited at the graduation ceremony by a college coach.
Is that how sports work?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Well, no,
They
Sure.
don't come talk to you to the day you graduate.
Like, how big was that senior class? Because did you really notice a ton of graduates
No.
there?
No, because I mean, it's supposed to. I think I could get this wrong. If I get this wrong, I'm gonna get people are gonna shit all over me. But I think it's supposed to be Springwood, Ohio, is the name of the town.
Yes.
Which I guess it's supposed to be. I get kind of a small town. It's not like a big. So a small graduating class would make sense. Plus, how many kids have Freddie been killing off over the years? So I mean, I think the student population taking a hit.
Not a lot left.
Can I voice one complaint here that
course.
really pissed me off right away? Because I love part 4 so much, and the Moon Goons can go watch it. I'm sure they've already seen it. But if you remember 4, she has a core group of friends, and a couple of them are carryovers from
number
part
3.
3.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
okay with that because in number 3 they're all in an institution or whatever. You don't really get to see school, so you don't know who their friends are, and then you find out they're at this school. They're all friends. In 4, everybody fucking dies except for like Alice and like the boyfriend. Her
And the
brother,
boyfriend,
her
yeah.
brother is murdered.
Yeah.
Flash forward just a few months, and she's got a whole new core group of friends, and they all act like they've never heard of your brother getting murdered or any of this crazy shit.
Especially if it's a small town.
Yes.
I mean, why wouldn't they know that?
Why do they act like they're best friends, which they kind of do, kind of don't? And then, from the friend's point of view, why would you hang out with this girl who had all her friends
Yeah.
murdered?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be a little scared?
That's a really good point.
That really
an
bothered me.
amazing point. You get that's blue ribbon point
Because
right
they
there.
did the carryover from 3 to 4 perfect, in my opinion, and then they just shit the bed on 4 to 5.
Yeah, it's
it
been
made
so
no
long
sense.
since I watched 4. I watched it when I thought about trying, for this episode, but it was so long ago when I was preparing for that, I had forgotten about that carryover. I didn't even think about what you said. That's an amazing point. That's totally right on.
But it kind of goes with what Chris said earlier. It's like how they just cram these out as much as they can.
Yes.
I mean, Freddy Phenomenon, Freddy Fever. They just kind of like you said. They have fodder. We just put some kids together, make them diverse enough to appeal to a wide audience, and we're gonna have Freddy kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I know you probably don't know off the top of your head, but I'm guessing also 4 and 5 are written by completely different people too. So there probably has no continuity in writers.
I actually don't. I know it was different directors, but I
Yeah.
don't know about the writing.
Okay. Back to graduation. Also, we find out Alice's dad is a recovering alcoholic. Who he was an alcoholic in 4, I believe. So they did carry that over. And as Aaron said, Dan's recruited by a college coach who likes to photobomb graduation pictures, by the way.
Oh, God.
Right in the front.
Right in the front row.
Ballsy.
And also find funny that a head football coach wears a tennis racket tie.
Right.
You couldn't get a football tie? Really?
It's like, who's a big stunt man? Okay, that guy. You're going to be the football coach. Like, okay. That guy could not act for shit.
No.
He was probably also one of those guys that down in the asylum.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, they always carry over this theme too in all the Freddy movies that the parents are terrible. Like the adults they're really trying to pander to young people and they always make the adult characters like buffoons,
Yes.
Right.
idiots. If you notice,
Yeah.
like they all talk down to the kids. Like that is a theme, and I read this, so I don't know if this is true, but it harkens back supposedly to the parents that originally like killed Freddy.
Yeah.
Like that they were so enraged and dumb and
Yeah.
full of emotion, and so like they always portray the parents as like these terrible people. Like to their kids. Like
Alice's dad was that
That's
bad.
true.
In this one, Alice's
Right.
dad was actually
He's
he made
actually,
up for
an
numbers.
antagonist, yeah.
But you're right. Greta's mom is just
she's
obnoxious,
terrible.
horrible.
Dan's dad looks like a drunk. His face is just red, and he's like,
That's Mark's dad.
That's Mark's
Mark,
dad.
yeah. Who I love that dad. If that was my dad, I'd hang out with him all the time.
It's like, hey brats, get over here.
So the graduating scene finally ends. Alice heads off to work, and this takes her on a light jog through the park where she spots the Nightmare on Elm Street kids jumping rope, singing the Freddy rhyme. She follows the little girls into the woods because that always ends well, which basically causes a hole in time as it suddenly switched from day to night instantaneously, even though it's just like early morning for the graduation. Alice enters this clearing where she starts spinning in a circle. She ends up at the foot of a long stone staircase and face to face with the nun dressed in white.
Did you notice the change in the song? Because I
Yes,
did.
I was going to comment on that. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to bring that up in odds and ends, but yeah, the famous Freddy jump rope rhyme is changed in this one. It's subtle, but they have changed it from all the original previous versions of it. But fuck it. Let's talk about now. You brought it up. I want to talk about that. But it's pretty much all the same until the very last line, the 9-10. It used to be 9-10, never sleep again, I believe, was the original. And now it's 9-10, Freddy's back again.
Which I liked.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's not big, but it's a minor change that people can pick up on.
You guys got good harmony over there. I like it.
So she follows the nun up the stairs and into the utterly insanely massive old brick building that's supposed to be a mental hospital.
Gorgeous.
This thing is like Buckingham Palace. It's fucking huge.
It looks like the castle from Castlevania. You know, it's just this huge, giant castle. It's a fucking castle.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, I mean, they got the minarets and the towers and, you know, like,
gargoyles,
gargoyles,
everything.
Yeah.
Everything you.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. So. Inside, Alice begins to wind down this long, seemingly identical hallways. And at the end of one, she sees this black baby carriage roll past an open door. Now, this baby carriage is the size of a VW Bug. It's fucking huge.
I couldn't tell what it was the whole time.
I remember the first time I saw the movie, it took me a while to figure out what the fuck is that thing?
That?
But yeah,
She's
it's
like,
a
what
baby
is that?
carriage.
I'm like, it's a baby carriage. Duh.
I was like, oh.
It's like a baby carriage designed by H.R. Geiger.
Yeah.
You know, like the guy who did Aliens, you know, like that's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah, it's all black and like kind of, or like something you see in like the Silent Hill world or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rip off of Freddy's Dream World if you think about it. But yeah, so she follows it, and the baby carriage leads her to a staircase which she goes up, and so she goes going up and up, and then suddenly out of nowhere she finds herself lying on a gurney, being pushed down a long hallway by an orderly, and she's crazy screaming inmates are going all around, and she's rolled into an operating room where she's held down by doctors and other nuns. She's screaming, she's struggling, the camera pans around to all the various people holding her down, and then all of a sudden Alice is now, who was on the gurney, is now standing up behind the people, looking at where she was.
Yeah.
And where she was is now a dark-haired pregnant woman, Amanda Kruger, and she's begging Alice to stop these people from, don't let them deliver my baby.
And she's looking right at Alice. She's like, stop them, don't let them do this.
Yeah. So the baby's born. And
She says, why is this happening again?
yeah, something like that.
The baby?
Yeah, what is that? The doctor?
The black nun is in shock, and she just looks at this baby, but tries to put like a happy face on. And says, "Remember, all babies are God's creations," but she can even barely say it.
She says, remember, sister, this is a creature of God.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Amanda says, that is not God's creature.
There, thank you, Chris.
The doctor, when the baby comes out, the doctor goes, push. Holy shit. What is it?
That's right.
It's like, is that a priest? What is this?
Oh man.
So we hear the baby making all sorts
That's not
of
a good sign.
primal growling sounds, and the black nun ends up. She drops the baby, which was struggling to get away anyway, and now we see the baby, and it's basically.
When Amanda says, give it to me, don't let it get away.
Yes.
So it's like she knows, this is like the whole setup for the entire movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like this thing.
It's basically a tiny baby version of Freddy that's all gross in the form, and it looks utterly ridiculous.
It does.
It looks so.
Yeah, it's making weird little noises. It's slimy. It's got a fucking basketball-sized head. This tiny
It's like
body.
a ghoulie.
I was
that
going to
pop
say,
out
it
of the
should be,
toilet.
Yeah.
Yes.
more
It's
ghoulies
got like
than anything. Yeah.
toothpick legs that can't even support it, but this giant bulbous head.
Yeah.
Like the weight of the head would just flop it over to the floor. And it still has the scars.
Yeah.
It has like the Freddy
Yeah,
scars.
why is this baby burnt? Like if it's Freddy is a baby, Freddy didn't come out of the womb all burnt and deformed. He was burnt by
So
the parents.
weird looking.
So, oh god. So the baby scurries away out of the room.
Yeah, it's just
Sound
wiggles
effects.
around on out.
So awesome.
It's like weird wet slapping sounds. Like
So all the people that were there they're gone. They vanish, leaving Alice alone. And she leaves the operating and ends up in the old rundown chapel. And where baby Freddy climbs up onto the altar where Freddy's clothes just happen to be lying spread out.
sure.
Seeing this, Alice yells out, "No, not again!" Because she knows what's going on now,
I was
apparently.
curious
Now-
at this point. Was this where they killed Freddy in the one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's
I was
where he
going to
died.
say it is kind of valid
Okay.
that those clothes are there because he got sucked out in
Yeah.
part 4. However they killed him, who knows? And,
Okay.
you know,
Faced his own
yes,
Then I take it.
atrocities
yeah.
or
All right,
something.
so there's
I
a
don't
tie in there. Thank you for bringing that to light.
That's what I was wondering.
yeah.
So
Good
yeah,
call,
so
Chris.
Thanks for the
she,
info, Doug.
she rushes the altar to try to stop, but baby Freddy lets out this really weird sounding scream, which causes the chapel to begin to break apart. The floor underneath Alice breaks open and flings her flying backwards as baby Freddy crawls into adult Freddy's sweater. This causes the baby to grow into and become a full-fledged Freddy as the altar is lifted up and out of the floor by what I think are supposed to be giant roots but look like giant inflated trash bags.
It's everything's exploding, shit's flying everywhere. Alice goes flying. Everything, the glass is breaking. Everything is going nuts.
It's chaos.
It's
Yes.
like even when Freddy forms and you kind of see the silhouette, of it, he gets blown away. Like even he's not safe.
You see Freddy come fly-
Everyone's getting thrown around.
The noises, I watched this at 1 in the morning, and when that got loud, it got so friggin' loud, it scared the shit. It was like, boom, yeah, like they just blew everything up. I was like, what the fuck?
So, even though Freddy just went flying, he appears now standing on the altar, and for some reason, his left arm is ridiculously long,
Right.
even though his right arm is completely normal. And I don't understand this at all. Why one arm is so fucking long when the other's not?
I didn't get that either.
And it looks
but
so fake.
it's so weird because here it is. You got number 5. Freddy's back. Here he is. He's finally materialized. He's standing up. He's got his arms. He goes, "It's a boy." It's a
Yeah.
great little.
Oh, yeah,
it's a great
great
line.
line.
But his one arm is just so long. It just looks stupid.
It does.
I mean, it takes all the all the impact
Yeah,
out
I
because
completely
all you can
agree.
do is look at that stupidly 10-foot long arm.
And it's like they had to make that.
Yes.
They had to
Yeah.
work on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
You
right.
think the director would be like, no, looking at the monitor, like, no, this is unbalanced. We gotta fix this guy. He's like,
Give him
fuck
a regular
it.
arm. Just
Yeah,
give him
give him a
normal
regular arm.
Because it doesn't make sense. It has no relevance back to the story. It doesn't come
No.
back in any way, shape, or form. He's
Really?
just got a really long arm.
Well, because I mean, actually, he grew into the clothes or
anything,
whatever.
he should-
But
one
why
should be
would he
short.
grow longer?
Right.
It should be
You
a
know?
normal arm and a short arm. It hasn't fully grown
at least
yet.
maybe it was like a shorter arm, but a longer arm. Yeah, it makes no sense.
It kind of takes the impact out of that.
It does.
It's a good moment, but it's,
It's a
just like
bull- yeah,
all
man,
I can do
it's
is
like,
look at that long arm.
You know, Freddy
Stupid
puts the hat
Now-
on, and he's like, "What's up?"
Now, I know they've done before, but like in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street, the very first time I think we see Freddy when she's chasing Tina down an alleyway in a dream, he does the same thing. Both arms are all long and extended. And that was 5 years prior, and those arms look better than this arm did.
Yeah, and that was a cool thing because he was
Yeah.
walking in the alley,
Yeah,
scratching
that
the
was
sides.
different,
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, Alice shouts out that he can't come back because she locked the door on him. Freddy tells her that he found the key and wraps his hand like around her belly like you would like if she was pregnant, like a pregnant woman. And that's when the chapel doors open, and this is so epic and over the top. So the doors open, and staying there is Amanda Kruger in her white nun's habit. But what makes it so crazy is there's like a flock of doves and pigeons
oh,
around
White
her.
doves. It's like a John Woo movie.
Yeah, and they fly up around her and out the door. It's like, what's going on? It's so crazy.
Freddy kind of coils back when
Yeah.
he sees her.
Yeah,
He's like,
Yeah. Amanda says some shit like, your birth was a curse on humanity. I will not allow it to happen again. You brought me back to give you life. Now I must take yours. And like Chris said, Freddy then backs away and disappears into like a cloud of mist.
But he says, "We'll see, bitch." Now, is that any way to talk to your mother?
Yeah, it's not a way to talk.
Actually,
Well,
none.
well, hold on. I remember when my mom used to yell at me, and when she'd walk away, I'd go, "We'll see, bitch." Sounds like I'd argue with my mom, yeah. So it's accurate.
All right.
Now I wouldn't say that to her face.
Yeah, no. That's
Whenever
different.
she was out of the room, I'd be like,
He didn't have no problem though, but he did sulk away into the smoke.
He did.
I imagine little Erin just saying that, and she turns around. What'd you say? Nothing,
Nothing.
man.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play in the ditch, Mom.
So Amanda tells Alice that she must be released from her earthly prison and to look for her in the tower. And with that, doors close again. Alice rushes out of the doors, finds herself in the diner that she works at. And now she's back in the real world. Her coworker gives them shit for being 4 hours late. That waitress leaves
She's
out.
super pissed.
Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
too if she's like 4 hours late to, she's rightfully pissed. Alice goes to make a phone call at the payphone. Now we cut to the big school graduation party at the pool. The party's in full effect. Our main group's hanging out on the bleachers. Now, before I go on to this scene, I do want to comment on the bullshit that is going on here. That no coach would leave the kid the keys to the school pool so they can lock up after they're done practicing.
No.
And we've seen this bullshit so many. A lot of times it's like a basketball player at the gym, or we see it before. But there's no fucking way this would ever happen. I mean, this is a lawsuit way to happen. Unsupervised kids, graffiti,
Yeah,
vandalism. This is just an awful idea.
Yes, and Sarah just said it.
It's the
It was,
the
and
80s.
that's a theme in horrible horror
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, it's the
Anytime it was the 80s.
Right.
Barely the 80s, but it was the 80s.
I've watched so many 80s movies here. I feel like I say that 1,000 times. It's you. Sorry, go ahead.
You did see the kid get drafted at graduation. I just feel like none of us know how sports work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Athletes
Maybe
get
that's
ran at the
it.
school. They get the keys. They just lock up.
yeah. Just
Start the
clean up.
coffee in the morning.
I mean, not to mention this whole scene is complete filler and it fucking sucks anyway.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It
Yeah.
really does. So, anyway, yeah, I had more rant about that, but fuck, we'll move on. I
Although that's
hate
the
that.
only scene, if I'm remembering right, that they're really all together as a group, and maybe
Right.
they had to
Yeah.
throw that in. Like, oh
Well,
my
yeah,
god,
the
we've
graduation scene and then the party scene is really, yeah, you're right. After that, they're never together as a full group
got
anymore.
yeah.
So, anyway, the group sit around talking how much they dislike their parents, which, like you commented on earlier, Sarah, nailed it, or something like that. And then some random kid comes up and tells Dan that he has a phone call, so off he goes. It's Alice telling him about her dream and that he needs to come get her. So Dan grabs his bottle of champagne that he has for her, and off he goes.
And Mark says something like, "There he goes, the fastest man on 3 legs."
Yeah.
I did like that line. I did like that line. And then
Which makes it kind of weird. Like, why would Mark know about Dan's dick? Like, why would he say that?
Good question. Maybe he was scoping him at gym.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Something.
Maybe he watched that opening scene.
Over and over and over.
So we cut to Dan driving his truck, and I swear he has to suffer from narcolepsy. Yeah. Pretty much as soon as he gets in behind the wheel, he falls asleep.
Why is he so sleepy?
Immediately.
He was just at a party.
Exactly. That's my whole note. He's just at a party, having fun, swimming, partying up, and now I'm in a car. Immediately.
And also, he seems to be the only one that knows about Kruger.
Yeah.
So, like, your girlfriend calls you in a panic. Well, Kruger's back. Oh, I think I'm just going to take a little nap really quick. What?
Exactly. You couldn't have said it better.
Sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry to take your...
There's a rare stealing thunder.
Sorry.
Thank you. All right. Aaron just handed me another cold, cool silver bullet. All right.
Which I do want to say, since it's a 5 theme, whoever gets to 5 first wins a prize, right? Chris is like, I'm going for it. Dudes.
I'm already at 3.
Probably like hour and a half.
I was kidding.
So we hear Dan's mother come over the radio, and she like trash talks this kid and Alice, all this, followed by Freddy's voice. And then the seatbelts come to life and begin to constrict Dan, and then like 5 more seatbelts start coming out of nowhere. And the truck swerves off the road as Freddy takes control of the truck. Freddy appears next to Dan and begins to pour champagne over himself,
Right.
which for some ludicrous reason burns Freddy.
Yeah, he takes a big swig of it and then spits it at the dashboard, and it's like acid. And he
Yeah.
says, "Bad year, Dan."
Yeah.
And then he pours it on his right shoulder.
Yeah.
Which eats away his arm. He pulls his arm off
Yeah.
and like attaches it to the side of
And
the
uses
cab.
it as he uses his own arm as a seatbelt.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I was
Dude.
pretty handy.
What the fuck was that?
Handy.
I did
That was
say
awesome. I got it.
Damn.
I don't mind.
never
I mean, the idea of him using his own hand as a seatbelt because like the clawed glove would like stick into the seat. But it's like, why is champagne burning him?
It was a bad year.
Yeah.
You just, a
So
little too much of those acidic grapes, I guess.
So one of the truck's tires just explodes into flames for like in no reason whatsoever, and this sends Dan crashing through the windshield, which also then makes him go crashing through the wall of the school because he winds up back in the pool.
Right.
So, which is fucking weird. Also, it's like what? Just
But that's the beauty of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's a dream.
Yeah,
So you can do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure,
Like a
he
dream
was
It
just...
within a
it looks like it
dream
gives the
within a
internal
dream.
excuse to to have nothing ever make sense in the movie.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
mean,
kind of a cheap way to do
Because we
things.
just saw him strapped in with multiple layers of seatbelt.
Right.
We're right, like 6 or 7 sheets.
And then when he gets in the accident, he goes flying through with no protection. So, fuck it. It's a dream.
Yeah.
It's just a dream.
So he runs back outside where he steals a motorcycle, peels off down the road. Now, keep in mind, this is, again, supposed to be small town Ohio, but for some reason, Dan's now on, like, a massive highway, like the 405 or something, weaving in and out of other cars.
And
It's
he
just-
is an experienced rider.
Oh,
All of a
Yes.
sudden.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This guy's doing, like, weaving in and out of the cars, like, at blistering speeds. It's great.
Like-
he's also a, like, excellent motorcycle rider and the best quarterback in the state.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Of course.
And abs for days.
So as he's racing down the highway, the motorcycle starts to come to life, and wires and cables start burrowing into Dan's hands and his leg, merging him with the bike. Now, the bike's gas tank morphs into Freddy's face, which is made from wires, and Freddy drops more one-liners on Dan's, like, you feel the need for speed, and don't sleep
had
and
a-
drive or whatever. Some crap.
When I looked at him, like, after all that finally happened and, like, he started blasting down the road, it was almost like he was, like, a biomechanical Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly what I said in my notes. He basically turns into a Ghost Rider RoboCop hybrid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or you could also say maybe Darth Vader without the mask.
That's what I was going to say. He looks a little Darth
yeah.
Vader-ish.
Yeah, I mean, why did
sure.
all his hair go away?
I know.
I don't know.
Like, I understand.
Here's what I think. It's weird because at one point you see like all this steam. Like I think it's like the steam like coming into the pipes or the wiring into his body, like melts his skin away.
Right.
But weird thing is it melts his face away, but then his body is like this hard like chitinous like shell or something.
It's almost like a cyborg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like a skeleton
yeah.
or metal. It's like brown,
Like an exoskeleton.
yeah, it's like an exoskeleton. Like where'd that come from?
But it was... I remember watching this when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, I believe I saw it in Chautauqua
I was gonna bring that-
when we were kids at Marshall's house. And I remember being like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
first
yeah.
time we watched it was you, me, and I think our friend Ty. We were up at my summer house, and yeah, this scene came on, and I was like, we were all like, whoa.
Right.
Whoa, that's wow, fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
It was cool.
It was cool. So the bike keeps gaining speed and zipping through traffic, and now it's racing towards an oncoming semi-truck. And right as Dan Bike Hybrid is about to crash into the truck, we cut back to Alice at the diner, who's clearly standing in front of a green screen. The world behind her disappears and is replaced with like this hellish abyss.
It's like a red.
It's like it's red pit.
It
Looks
Yeah.
like it looks like a colon.
I was going to say, or like an esophagus.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, like
I like a colon. I like that. It's
colon's
pretty
better.
shitty. What can we
Colon's
do with colon?
probably pretty shitty.
So and she
Pretty
sees
shitty.
and she sees Dan falling through the colon.
Now, haven't they, and I don't remember, but I feel like they've had that almost kind of same thing before. Like in part 3, didn't Joey, like from the bed, go down into that? And then when they had to enter the dream world to fight him, you see that. I just feel like in other Nightmare movies, I've seen that.
Maybe. I haven't
not
seen 3
as
in a long
prominent
time.
as in this.
Yes,
but I was like, I feel like it's a Freddy thing.
I totally agree. It was done before.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know if it's like a theme or a thing, but yeah, you're right. I think it was number 3. I agree. Yeah.
Because that was the one where Freddy needed a colon cleansing. So now,
He's got guys chipping away down there.
Nightmare on Elm Street 6, the dream colonoscopy. So, Dan wakes up from his dream just in time to actually crash
Freddy
head on
says,
into a semi-truck.
Don't dream and drive.
Yes, thank you. There's another one line. Dan's
Well done.
truck goes up in flames. Alice hears the crash and the collision. She runs out of the diner to see Dan's wrecked truck on fire. Dan's dead inside the cab. But dead Dan comes back to life and in Freddy's voice says, "Hey, Alice, want to make a baby?" Or something like that. And
can you please do that again?
I know. It's like, I don't think he said that, but I like what you just said.
He did.
it totally
did say
makes
that.
he does say that. Alice then just faints, just
I
passes
asked
out.
nice. Can you please do that again?
Hey, Alice, want to make a baby?
Just as good. That's the best.
So Alice faints. She wakes up in the hospital with Yvonne, who works there as a candy striper, which I didn't think they even still had candy strippers at this time, but apparently they do. Alice she's hysterical and frantically trying to convince Yvonne that Freddy is back and killed Dan. Alice's father and the doctor enter the room. She continues to rant about Freddy and how he killed Dan, and that it wasn't from drinking and driving like everybody is saying it was because they smelled the champagne on the cab and all that. But of course, no one ever believes her. Again, I have a problem with this as well. So here we go. At this point, there have been 5 movies into this franchise that all take place in the same town that has the same killer. Yet each and every fucking movie, everyone around the main character always denies or refuses the notion that Freddy is killing people, right?
Right.
So even when it's coming from a person who has already fought Freddy once and lived through it like Alice has, they continue to refuse the fact that he exists and that it's, Freddy's just imagining this, or you're too tired because you're stressed out, or you have PTSD from your previous run-in, or in Alice's case, they blame it on being pregnant.
Yeah.
So she's making this up because she's pregnant.
I got so pissed.
She finds out she's pregnant, and Yvonne's like, "You're just a little pregnant."
A
As
little
if to, like,
Just a little
a
pregnant.
little pregnant?
Yeah.
Just a little pregnant.
So, and also the fact that there's people in this goddamn town should be like, oh shit, Freddy's back. I mean, over the course
Right.
of 10 years
Right.
or so, Freddy's been killing all the kids in this town. So everyone knows that these groups of kids are showing up dead. And there's always this one kid ranting and freaking out about Freddy Krueger, but nobody ever believes it.
Yeah, the doctor was like, these sorts of outbursts aren't uncommon, especially in the beginning. Talking about the pregnancy, I was like, fuck you, doctor. I'll show you an outburst.
Women are just hysterical.
I know, hormones make us
We gotta
crazy.
get them old vibrant machine. We'll cure hysteria that way. But I mean, hell, even in Friday the 13th and Halloween movies, they at least acknowledge, yes, Jason and Michael Myers are real, and oh fuck, he's back. We gotta be on the lookout. But here's like, nope, Freddy doesn't exist.
That's a good point. That's a good point because we have, the competing genres of, we have Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger, we have Friday the 13th with Jason Voorhees, we have Halloween with Michael Myers, and the 2 out of the 3, those are the big 3.
Yeah.
The 2 out of the 3 always say, oh shit, so-and-so is back, Jason or Michael's back, but Freddy, like, I don't believe you kids.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with this for, 10 years.
Every year, about 5 or 6 more kids show up horribly murdered and maimed somehow, but everybody's like, nope.
Literally every year.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
You said 5. Here's one
from
question
84 to
I
89.
had. And you bring that up, so it's been that many years, and how you said that the parents, or Sarah had mentioned, like the parents are always idiots, they don't agree. So Freddy, and they don't really address that in this movie, but if you've watched all those, he's a child molester.
Yeah.
It was right around the scene that this really entered my mind, and I've never thought this in these movies before. I was like, he's a child molester, and part 1, Nancy's mom was like, he's come back to punish us for our sins, killing our children. Okay, I get all that. But by now, he's going after kids that the parents weren't some of the parents that burnt him or anything.
Now he's just killing.
So, and this is getting kind of like dark or gross or whatever, but all these teenagers that we see him attack, he never molested them. And really, he was more of, you learn kind of later in part 6 that it was like little girls or boys that he went after.
Yeah.
So why wasn't he ever after just going after little kids? What's his motive for teenagers?
Exactly.
It's
That's a great point.
Because it's the 80s, I
Probably
guess.
because probably because of society. Like nobody probably make a movie or
Of
distribute
course.
where we can't have a killer going around killing 8-year-olds.
But really, the premise loses it right around
right. That's a
4.
great
Like
point.
Nancy's not there anymore. The parents are gone. Why are you going after these random teenagers?
Yeah.
Well, what was 3? It was the
Dream
Warriors.
Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors.
It's
Nancy
almost
comes
like
back.
it's evolved into like he's just bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just
He got a
weird.
taste for teens.
Okay.
Yeah.
He likes them barely legal.
Boys or girls, he doesn't matter.
And he
Not
has
at
a
all.
thing. He has a thing with Alice now too. Like he has this like major super obsession with
Well, she
her.
beat him. Yeah,
she beat him.
Like,
Like,
you know what? That even
maybe-
answers it
is
for
that
me.
maybe
Like
that
he
it-
went
I don't
after
know.
her, and she was tied to Kristen, who Kristen was one of the original.
Yeah.
Her parent, Kristen, is the blonde played by Patricia Arquette
Yeah,
in 3.
yeah.
But in
Okay.
4, it's the same character but a different blonde.
Yep.
She's like Tuesday Night. She's like
Okay.
a singer also.
All right.
But so Sarah just solved it for me.
At
So
least
he went
there's a
after
probable,
them,
at least
and-
a somewhat logical connection
and
there.
so then he's just pissed off at Alice. Okay.
Okay, so like I said, the reveal is that she's pregnant. and she's kept overnight for observation. Everyone leaves. Alice rolls over, falls asleep, but shortly wakes up to find a young boy named Jacob standing in her doorway. They talk.
So creepy.
And Jacob seems to know things that he shouldn't know by any means, but he leaves before Alice can ask how do you know all this stuff. So now we cut to Greta sitting in her super creepy bedroom that's filled with all sorts of porcelain dolls and mannequins. What fucking 16-year-old girl was like, this may be the scariest thing in the movie.
She's disturbed. That girl is disturbed.
Well, it's just smacking you over the head with like symbolism. It's just beating you in the face with it. That the mother looks at her as a doll. Duh.
Yes.
Well,
it's just so. It's like, okay, we get it.
But at the same time, it's like, oh my god,
so many.
Like seriously, she is like Greta. I think is a serial killer in waiting with this room. but also it made me think of maybe Aaron. You were maybe I don't know if you had thought the same thing I did. But when I saw this, it made me think like this was straight out of the movie Tourist Trap, and Mr. Slauson should be right at home here. I mean, that is. Dolls, way too
everywhere.
many dolls.
So many dolls.
So she's
Did anybody
looking.
else find Greta's mom like super creepy too? Like
Yeah, she's
almost scarier than Freddy.
She
Yeah.
looked like she was in Technicolor. Like she looked like
crazy eyes. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
over the top character, like almost like a stage actor.
Yes.
Like her makeup was so thick, her hair was so red, everything she said was so loud and boisterous and loud. Like she was performing for people in the cheap
I kept having
seats.
like Beetlejuice.
Oh my god! I was just
with
gonna
her.
say that.
yeah.
I was gonna say a mix between like Beetlejuice, House of a Thousand Corpses, like craziness.
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
table.
that's a great way of putting
Beetlejuice
it.
is the big one. That,
Yeah.
like I was like, this is exactly
And
that.
especially the dinner scene that's
Yes.
coming up.
Dale.
So basically, all we see is Greta sitting around looking at yearbook pictures of the group and Dan, and that's it.
Well, talk about quick turnaround for photo.
Yeah, exactly. They got the graduation picture.
1989,
like, the day
right?
of.
Oh my god!
That shit took 72
I
hours.
didn't even
like
think
48
about that. You're right. Like, the very next day.
Yeah, she's got this giant blow up, like an 8x10 of like this graduation photo, and they just take it the day before. Nope, I call bullshit. I call bullshit.
That's great
That is
bullshit.
so true.
That's hilarious.
Wow, I didn't even catch that. Because like 1 hour. Do you guys remember 1 hour
Yeah.
photo like
a
in high
Fox
school?
thing, Fox photos, like 1 hour.
But
yeah.
that wasn't back then. That was like 95,
Yeah.
94.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Chris,
hilarious.
good call. Yeah.
Way to go. So, Alice is leaving the hospital. She's talking to Vaughn, and she's asking about the boy Jacob, but Levanto's like, hey, there is no boy with that name in this hospital. So, bum, bum, bum. So we jump to Alice and her friends gathered in Alice's bedroom, where Alice is given a history lesson about Amanda Kruger, and she reveals that Amanda was raped by 100 maniacs in the mental hospital and ended up pregnant, and that baby was Freddy Krueger.
Raped by 100 maniacs.
100.
That sounds like a porn challenge. You know, like
There are literally porn movies, like the ultimate gangbang ones. Where it's like,
I was gonna say,
there's
who?
real porn movies out there.
well,
with,
that's
like,
what I'm saying. They
super
could call it
gangbangs.
the Freddy Krueger challenge. The Nightmare Challenge. Can you be banged by 100 inmates?
I see a new movie with Ron Jeremy in it, like in our future. Somebody copyright that shit right now.
He should be the first one.
Yeah.
He gets dibs. He's not going to get the sloppy 100.
No.
No, he's number one. He'll run
He's
it for
a
everybody
star.
else.
Oh,
He's
you
a
come
star.
in with like a crown on. The C's
That's right,
part,
like, his
the
scepter's
C's
like-
part, and Ron Jeremy just walks down with like a
He has a
dildo
with a giant
scepter.
dildo on top of it.
Going down a weird path here.
Ooh, all right.
Bring it back around.
All right. So anyway, now I need to mention at this point that Mark, during this whole scene, Mark is drawing in his sketch pad. Mark is like the big comic book geek. He's always drawing comic book characters and comic strips and all this stuff, or comic book art. Basically, the scene ends with a really lame after-school special-esque like group hug, which is really lame.
Well, and I mean, Alice is like explaining the Kruger thing,
Yeah.
and they're all looking at her like she's fucking crazy.
Again, this is where I asked that question, though. Like, in my notes, I'm like, wouldn't her friends already know that this stuff happened? I mean,
Yeah.
what we already, like, at this point, you're like, why don't they know this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll have to go
Especially,
through
like-
all of us.
Especially like Doug said, like if Alice survived the fourth movie, where her friends and her brother were killed. People, and they all went to if they all went to the same school, which I imagine they did because the same town, they would all know this.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's just a central theme.
Like ever since Doug said that, I can't get that out of my head now because how much that even ruins this movie even more for me now. Like, that's such an gigantic oversight.
It did that for me too. Whenever Doug said that, thanks a lot, Doug. They just ruined the movie for everybody.
You guys are a bunch of sons of bitches. I feel like I'm being set up here. For I'm like, yeah, I did say that. You're right. I make good points. On to the next point, Marshall.
Okay, so we jumped at Greta's house where she and her family are hosting a fancy, dancy, schmancy dinner party. And for some retarded reason, Greta falls asleep at the dinner table for, again, just like Danny in the truck, perfectly awake, and then boom, asleep at the dinner table.
Out of nowhere. Like, this is something that kind of bugged me too, was in all the other Nightmare movies, the kids are staying up for days.
Yes.
And they really hammer home.
And they're taking, like, caffeine pills and no dose.
Right.
And we're in day 2.
Yeah.
After graduation.
And they are they really hammer home that they're all struggling, hard struggle to stay awake, and we can all relate to it.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all kind of, I mean, no matter who you are, you've been so exhausted but trying to stay awake.
College finals, pulling all-nighters for days.
Right. And here it's like you're at a dinner party. just like you said before with Dan.
You're driving your truck, racing to get to your girlfriend who's in danger. I'm going to fall asleep. It's so, it's another great point.
But it was so well done in all the other Nightmare movies.
Yeah.
And in this one, they completely whitewash over that. They're just like, you know what? We don't have time for that shit.
Everybody's a narcoleptic. Everybody just passes.
We don't have time for that shit. How do we explain they fall asleep? They're just like, fuck it, they fall asleep.
So, and actually, that's exactly what I note. No build on it. So, I swear, you're reading over my shoulder. So she tells the waiter now that she's not hungry. This causes all the guests and her mother to stop everything and turn towards Greta. And she finds herself trapped in like this giant, like rusted out baby high chair.
Right.
But it's an adult size. And Freddy comes out dressed as a waiter, pushing a food cart. He lifts the lid on the tray to reveal a porcelain doll laying on top of a bed of vegetables. The doll is supposed to represent Greta. The mother says things like, "Only the best, my little Greta, and don't talk with your mouth full, my dear." As Freddy starts force-feeding her food from his glove, which now has a spoon attachment on it.
Petite bitch.
Yeah. He says filet de Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just said it, Doug. He goes like, "Bon appetit, bitch." How many times does he call people bitch in this movie? It's like he said it. The best one was at number 3 when he's like, "Time for prime time, bitch."
Yes,
and smash her. That's the best one when he's coming on the TV. But it just seems
let's be
like,
honest. I mean, that bitch really rolls off his tongue. In
Yeah.
that Freddy voice.
Oh, yeah.
it does. But I feel like they really
They go
milked
down
it.
well a little one too many
Exactly.
times.
Well, he's not gonna call her a cunt. Sorry, bitch.
It's all right. It's all right.
You're right. He's not. He's too classy.
This is a white tie affair dinner party.
Yes.
Black tie, white coat, black tie.
Yeah.
So,
He's too classy for that. Yeah.
so the doll on the tray has been cut open along the torso, and Greta's face is all puffed up and swollen from all the food being crammed into her mouth, and she looks a lot like Thunder from Big Trouble in Little China, like right before he explodes.
yeah.
That's true. And I was thinking, like a Garbage Pail Kid.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, very
another
much
great
like
example.
that.
But most of our listeners who aren't going to know what the fuck a Garbage Pail Kid is. They're too young for that.
Maybe some of them, but
Yeah.
But at least Big Trouble in Little China is still people.
maybe, yeah.
Garbage Pail Kids is a special niche.
It really is.
Now, I
Look it up,
apologize for all those
people.
Moon Goons who do actually know what they are. I know some of you do, but there's probably a lot of people who might not know what Garbage Pail Kids are.
They should look it up.
Well, and at this point in the movie, though, too, there's back and forth between Alice and her dad. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, because
Yeah.
they're in the kitchen making
it's
dinner.
flashing-
right,
Yes,
it's
or whatever.
flashing
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
forth.
yeah.
Are we getting to that?
Yeah, we're getting that, but yeah, I didn't touch on it because it's so back and forth. I was trying to. Keep,
I know it gets real confusing,
yeah.
but I like the spot where Alice is putting away the groceries, and suddenly everything her dad just came home with groceries, so she's putting away the groceries, and suddenly she looks in the fridge, and everything starts decaying.
Yes.
It's very cool, like 80s,
Yes.
like special
Yeah.
effects.
It's like
Playhouse.
80s
Right.
stop
Yeah.
motion.
Yes, it looks
It's
a
very
lot like
stop
claymation.
motion.
Like
Yeah.
claymation, Pee-wee's Playhouse. You
Yes.
nailed it. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that. It's like this
It's like
weird.
a bowl of grapes that turn into eyeballs.
Oh,
And
it's
everything just, like,
salad
rots
had
and,
eyes and like it's
But cans
cobwebs.
crush real slow.
Yeah.
Weird claymation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it.
I liked it too. I felt
I
very,
liked
very
it.
1980s.
So Freddy,
the 80s.
Freddy again drops the obvious cliche here that you are what you eat, and then picks up Greta and hugs her for some reason, and then seems to like start like ballroom dancing with her. And in the real world, we see a sleeping Greta stand up from her baby high chair, and she begins to like cough and convulse. And while the dinner guests and her mother just kind of laugh at her,
Yeah.
she's like, "Wait, what?" Like I understand you're laughing in the
Yeah.
dream world, but this is supposed to be the real world, and she's joking. And the mom's like,
And then we pop back to the fridge thing, and Greta dives through the
So
the side door of the fridge. Like, help me, Alice.
yeah,
Alice.
she has the fridge open just right after like you said the fruit decays, and you see like the way it's like Alice or not Greta's like head and upper torso like come out of the door of the
Right.
refrigerator. And she's like, help me out. They're all muffled.
Yeah.
And then
Alice
we
is trying to pull her
out.
out.
And then we see Freddy come out the main part of the fridge, grabs Greta by the hair, and slams the refrigerator.
very violent.
Yeah.
See, what I think that is, though, I don't think from Greta's perspective that happened at all. Like, she's dealing with the Freddy stuff over here. I think Alice is, well, and you'll reveal how Freddy's getting to her, but
Yeah.
that she's seeing visions.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, no,
the
I don't think, no.
dreams.
She's seen, that was Alice's vision, I'm sure, in
Yeah,
the fridge.
Because Alice's dad has no idea what's going on.
So Alice can see.
No, Greta's still
Yeah, that's the whole
dancing,
Like reading the
convulsing in
paper,
a dining
like,
room somewhere.
dinner ready yet, babe?
She's like, yeah, and that's the whole thing now. She can see all this when she's awake. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's-
she's like, I don't understand. I'm awake. That would suck. I mean, that.
I think you
It's
nailed
like-
it right there.
Yeah.
It's
It
like
sounded a
vampires
lot like
walking
that.
around during the day. We're screwed.
Yeah,
So,
that's perfect.
so again, speaking of the bitch, when the refrigerator door closes, there's a note that says,
Die,
bitch. Once again, going back to that well.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So back at Greta's, like I said, Greta's still coughing and convulsing. She falls basically dead, face first, like landing in her dinner plate. So she's dead. And we go back to Alice, who opens the fridge again, and everything's back to normal. So the vision's over. And so another cut to Alice and Yvonne entering some brick industrial building where Mark seems to work and seems to live at the same time. It's really confusing.
I got the feeling that his dad owned the
Maybe,
building or
I guess
some
it's something
sort of
like that.
Warehouse. I didn't see that. I didn't catch like the name
Yeah,
on the
I
side
forget-
of the warehouse.
It's like I didn't write down the name, but
I think
so-
it's called Freddy's.
I wish. Again, Mark, Alice is talking about how this can happen again, and Mark was going to be all freaked out by this, but it doesn't. Why would Mark be freaked out? I don't know. Or that
Well,
Greta's
Mark-
dead because Greta's dead. That's why
yeah,
Mark freaked out.
Mark
That's right.
was very much in love with Greta.
Yeah,
and
he
was-
he
the
was-
whole thing was that he kept trying to get Greta, and they're all like, "Give it up, Mark. You're never
That's true.
gonna-"
That's true.
I'm starting to
was-
wear her down. I think.
He was sweet on Greta.
Yeah. See, okay. So Mark and Yvonne, they get into an argument over whether Freddy's real or not, and this causes.
Yeah, suddenly Mark puts on his big boy boots and starts being a badass.
Yeah.
Talking down to the ladies. It's like his friends.
Yeah. Basically, but they make up real quickly, and nothing comes up.
As he's skateboarding.
I know. He's skateboarding.
It's like, if something killed Greta, I want to hear about it.
I want to hear it.
I'm not done. You know, like,
You know, it's
goddamn,
in
dude.
late '80s, or, early '90s when everybody had to be skateboarding in a movie. That
Yeah.
was the thing. Everybody,
yeah.
there's always a skateboard.
He was just everyone's walking, but he just happens to be on a skateboard because it was such a weird thing because everyone obviously has emotion when
Yeah,
walking, and he's just gliding along. I'm like, what the fuck, is he on a skateboard? I was like, at first I was thinking, please be rollerblades, please be rollerblades. I want to see the first rollerblades.
Yeah.
Rollerblades went to like, nah, that's
Yeah, I know.
too
I was
super
thinking,
cool.
hopefully, I was
man.
hoping.
So Yvonne leaves again because she has to get to her shift in the hospital. Alice stays behind to hang out with Mark for a while, and
What kind of late shift does a candy striper do at the hospital?
yeah,
Do they? I mean,
They don't.
no. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's 2 nights in a row.
I know.
She has a shift at the hospital 2 nights in a row.
as a candy striper, yeah.
She's busy. She's got 2-hour practices, 6
6
days a week.
Yeah.
And she's working double graveyard shifts at the hospital as a volunteer candy striper.
Yeah,
Right?
She's in charge of locking up the school
Right.
and taking care of all that.
Oh, shit.
What is a candy striper? I
So
actually don't really know.
So it's a volunteer. They do light work. Like they'll help. Like if someone needs to be fed, they'll help feed them.
Fluff your
If
pillows.
someone needs to be,
The fluffer.
they'll change the
fluffer.
sheets, but they won't do anything like take vital signs.
Yeah.
They won't do anything like
Well, that's
any actual
nice
care.
though. That's probably needed in a hospital very
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
so.
yeah. But that's a very old-timey term, candy
It
striper.
really is. It really. You
Yeah.
don't hear it. Yeah, people
The
don't say
only
it.
reason I knew about Candy Stripers because I think I watched Candy Stripers 2 was one of the very first porns I ever
Porns?
saw when I was a kid.
That's exactly my first experience with Candy Stripers 2 was that porn movie.
And they give sponge
Which,
baths.
by the way, starred Ron Jeremy.
We bring it back around, ladies and
Back
gentlemen.
around.
Full circle.
Did you guys watch that together as well as this movie?
Well, we kind of went from Freddy 5 and then we kind of went into Candy Stripers.
Yeah,
It was an obvious progression.
When you're friends and you get your hands on a porn, you gotta pass it around to your
Yeah.
friend. Dude, watch this. You gotta see it. So you let them borrow the tape. Yeah.
The tape.
VHS.
It was a VHS.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, it was the 80s.
All right, so back to the movie. Alice and Mark head back to this back room of the warehouse that Mark has turned into like his personal hangout space, art studio, and I guess bedroom as well. It's decorated with all sorts of like various comic book art and comics. And
Is this where Ted Nugent?
Is this the band? Where the band's
Yes.
on
yeah,
the TV?
because there's a TV,
Oh.
there's a TV back there, and there's a
Yeah.
band on the TV that they
Yes.
pass over real quickly. But this is where Ted Nugent is.
Okay.
Okay.
The nuge.
Mark wants to know more about Freddy, so Alice says, I'll make some coffee because there's a lot to tell and you look tired. So the next shot we see Mark is asleep.
Right. Alice is gone for what, 5-10 minutes?
How long does it take to make a cup of coffee? This guy, coffee dog, how long does it take to make a cup of coffee?
Right, like 3 minutes.
He passes out.
And
on
she's
the-
been saying, "Don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep.
He comes after you in the dreams."
And this especially coming from Mark. He's like, I really want to hear about this. I want to know this information, but I'm going to take a nap first.
I'm so sleepy. He ate some turkey before she got there.
Like a full Thanksgiving meal.
Couldn't help it.
Gobble gobble.
So, the next set, Mark's asleep. Alice enters the coffee, and she spots a drawing of the Kruger house. I think it's. It
is
really
that-
looks more like
okay.
to me. I think it's more like Nancy's house from the
Nancy's
first
house,
one.
Oh,
But-
I was wondering. Okay.
But I don't.
But somehow it's
which is
become
why.
the Kruger
Which
house.
exactly.
Yeah.
Why it's become the Kruger house now. I'm not sure. Unless Doug, correct me. Was that by that wasn't like Freddy Krueger's childhood house, like Michael Myers' house?
I don't know unless they do. I don't remember 6 well. 6 they go back to him being
Yeah.
young and having a daughter, and maybe they did that in there. But
Yeah, they
I don't
did.
know.
The
The,
dream-
the glove was in the boiler. That's where
Yeah.
she, of that house. You're right. That's a good point.
Like,
that
I
has
don't-
become the house.
Yeah.
Right.
The
And
Nancy.
why?
Nancy.
But that was definitely
what-
Nancy's house.
Exactly,
Yeah,
but I don't know
yeah.
why it's like become the Kruger house. It
don't
doesn't
either.
make any sense to me. But that's the house we're at.
But I seem to remember another one where they go visit that house though, and it's all boarded up and it's like on lockdown. I don't remember.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's
know what you're
fine.
talking about. It's got to be like 4, 6, I would think.
It's hard. It's hard for me. I watched the first one and I thought it was awesome, and then I remember Freddy's dead. Everything in between kind of is a
Blur. Yeah. So now we see like this living pencil drawing of Mark appears outside the house on the drawing. And animated Mark enters the house while Alice hastily draws a stick figure
He's an artist.
on paper and just labels it Alice.
I know. I love that. You see him walking in, she's like, "Oh, I got this."
Like,
She's so smart.
Like she knows exactly what to do.
Yes.
It basically looks like the girl, the drawing you see on like a women's bathroom sign.
Right.
well, that's a good point. Knows what to do. I would see that and be like, well,
Now what?
what do I do now? Yeah. And it was much like the Aha video, Take On
I was
Me.
gonna
Yes.
say that.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I have it in my
every-
notes.
yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
But
Perfect.
I was actually gonna save that for later in the
Okay,
movie, but
sorry,
because it
yeah.
definitely more like that later. But
yeah.
good call. I mean,
Yeah.
we're right there.
Yeah, but it's so funny. She writes Alice, and I'm just like, "Are you sure it's not like Alice Smith or Alice, Jones?"
The wrong
That's
Alice.
a pretty common name.
There's some Calvin random Alice, but I was like, what the fuck?
Some random Alice, like, "Oh my god!"
I was just reading a book in my chair. What the fuck happened?
I was on vacation in Cancun, and now I'm in some weird Ohio town dream world.
What the hell?
Yeah, last name that shit. Alice is way too common of a name. So now Alice has managed to pull herself inside the drawing and find herself outside the Nancy/Kruger house. She heads inside the old rundown house, calling for Mark. She hears Mark screaming out for help. This leads her to find Mark barely holding on with one hand to the edge of the hellish
The
colon.
colon.
Yeah, he's getting sucked into the colon.
Stuck to the colon. And it turns out that this pit is opened up in the middle of the living room, just for some reason, just right there. Very 976 evil.
Yes.
Yes, giant pit in the living room. Wait, it's not frozen.
Good point. I didn't think that.
So Alice pulls him up and out, and the pit closes. She rushes to the front door, flings it open so they can make their escape. But on his way to the door, Mark notices that his hands are all cut and bleeding, which causes him to pass out because he's a pussy and doesn't like the sight of blood.
I wish they touched on earlier during
did
that
touch on
scene
it
that wasn't
earlier.
important. Yeah.
It's kind of funny when they touched on that scene earlier. It was at the pool party.
Oh, God.
And some girl leans against a beer bottle, and I can lean against a beer bottle. I'm a pretty big dude, and it probably won't break.
No.
Because they're constructed pretty well. This must be a fucking gorilla woman. Lean on a beer
I think
bottle.
it was a guy. I think it was a short guy.
No, it was a girl.
chick.
Was it a chick?
Because she's like,
I thought
oh my
it was a guy.
god! She just leaned on a. I think it was like a Budweiser.
It was
bottle.
a
It was
Budweiser.
Budweiser.
It
was.
just broke.
Product
like,
placement.
Yeah.
Damn,
So
girl.
supposed to be no glass by the pool.
That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
no,
That's why there's
yes.
no glass by the pool.
Why I had
That's
the
it right
red
there.
Solo cups.
Safety
Right.
first.
But
Get
that's that's what happens when coaches give kids
Yeah.
So anyway, once Mark faints, and he basically just disappears at this point because she's ahead of him at the door. He faints. She turns and starts walking back to where he passes out, and you can clearly see he's just gone.
Right.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
not
he's
on
gone.
the floor or anything.
No.
He's just gone.
Yeah, you see him like poof right through the floor. Like what the fuck? Where'd he go?
He passed out, meaning
Yeah.
he fell asleep.
So he fell asleep
Within
in his dream.
the
And
sleep.
so he's inceptioning himself.
I was gonna say,
What
so,
is happening?
so he fell asleep in the dreams. That means he wakes up in real life.
Yeah, that's weird. It doesn't. Yeah, it's fucking goofy. So Jacob now shows up.
They don't always get the rules aren't definitive because they don't always get it
No.
right. It depends on who's writing.
Oh, I
and
mean, just like the
directing.
NFL, the relocation rules not really definitive, and they just change them whenever they want. Fuck you, NFL!
snap.
Boom. Anyway, go on, Doug. You were saying.
Oh, you do know sports, Marshall. Wow.
He's been holding out on us this whole time.
All right.
Yeah, but like I mean,
Someone's still
dream.
butthurt.
Even in
Too
the
soon.
first.
Sorry.
Sorry,
No,
Doug.
go ahead. Go ahead.
But even in the first one, do you remember when Nancy answers the phone? Everybody remembers the scene
Yeah.
in the tongue. I've always argued that she wasn't in a dream. She wasn't dreaming. Johnny Depp
Right.
was dreaming
Oh,
across
that's
the street.
right.
You're right.
And like
So
that
why was
scene
she-
never made sense to me because like the rule didn't. She
There's no
wasn't.
Right.
That's a great point.
So I'm just
Great
saying
point.
with this Mark, it's hard to keep up. You're like, I don't know. It's like Aaron said, anything could fucking happen.
It's a
Like,
complete
it's a
fantasy.
dream.
That's a great point because that's such an iconic scene from that first movie.
And I
when
could
that
be
happened.
corrected, and I might be wrong, but I feel like when I watched it, I was like, that's not in a. That's just my memory. I should probably rewatch it. But this movie definitely has that, where shit just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. A lot of stuff don't make sense here. So Jacob tells her that he's been having bad dreams and he's been waiting for someone. He also tells Alice that his mother doesn't want him around. Jacob freaks out and yells at Alice, wanting to know why she doesn't like him.
Why don't
and
you like me?
why don't you want me around? And he mentions that his friend with the funny hand told him all of this information. Jacob then runs away, saying that that his friend's calling him. Alice chases after Jacob. She goes through the door and finds herself back in Mark's room at the warehouse. She finds Mark waking up on the floor with bleeding hands, and this is where Mark realizes that Freddy is real. Yeah, no shit. Alice rants on about how Freddy is trying to do something to her baby. Mark
Oh my
leaves.
god.
Yeah. Mark leaves to go dig up more information on Freddy, and Alice goes to the hospital to have her baby checked out. Because I guess you can just go to the local library and dig up information on Freddy
This
Krueger.
is pre-internet.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
dig.
Oh, come on. Every 80s horror movie, though, the montage of them in the library and look at. Even today,
Yeah.
if you go to the theater and watch like a horror movie that's like a ghost story,
They're always
when they
looking at-
gotta
yeah.
look up the house, whether it's the internet or they go to the library sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm like, that information is just not there. Like,
Yeah.
you can't
Urban
Google that
legend.
shit and see all the stuff, how to defeat the ghost, where to pour the salt. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. That does, like, you would not have figured that out.
So, like I said, so Alice is at the hospital, and she's asking Yvonne if unborn babies can dream.
Oh,
and without
my
even thinking about
God.
Yvonne's like, Yeah, totally.
I have so many problems with this.
I have so many problems too, but please go ahead. Go ahead.
She is like newly pregnant. Okay,
Yeah.
8 to 12 weeks
Oh,
pregnant.
we're gonna get to the ultrasound. I was
Okay.
gonna bring this up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her baby is the size of a bean.
A bean, like a lima bean. But okay.
But it could dream?
But it can dream. Yeah, it doesn't even have a brain yet. So
Sarah didn't like that part at all.
No.
She calls bullshit
I
on
call
that.
bullshit on the baby shit.
I would have totally would have sidestepped with this and let you. But now having going through this, with my daughter. Yeah, complete bullshit here. So, like I said, Alice gets an ultrasound. Now, the moment Yvonne and the doctor turn away from Alice for whatever reason, they should be looking at Alice in the monitor, but like, no, we're going to turn our attention somewhere else. Shit gets weird.
Real weird.
This blue electrical energy seems to come out of Alice's crotch.
Yeah.
And it spreads all over her body.
Hey.
And once she's completely blue, she gets sucked into the ultrasound machine, which dumps her down the hellish colon.
Well, no, and we find out that
It's like not a colon, it's like a fallopian tube.
Uterus, essentially. It's
It's
going
either
up
the
to
umbilical cord or like the fallopian tube, I would imagine.
Right, I figured.
Oh, God. So the pit.
I have so many problems.
Well, because she gets inside.
Yeah,
She's in there
it
with the
leads
baby.
to
Yeah, she's in there
Alice's
with a baby.
uterus. The pit leads to
baby.
outerus or
Yeah,
you.
not a bean, not
No.
like a. Yeah.
And we, the audience,
Not a
are
little bit
floating around with Alice's baby in like the embryonic sac or something.
Right.
And which, like, this is what Sarah and I are going to be big problems. Alice has basically been like 3 days pregnant,
Yeah,
maybe
She's
at
a
most.
little pregnant. She's
Just a little pregnant.
Just a little
That
pregnant.
should be the size of a bean. This baby is like 8 months ready to
Oh yeah,
burst
she's
when
like
we see
32
it.
weeks pregnant. Like this baby could have just talked at that time.
This baby is fully viable.
Yeah.
You know?
And the
Now, you guys are all basing it that it was Dan she was fucking in the beginning.
Oh.
But who knows?
Okay.
Who knows if she's been cheating
No, it
on
doesn't
Dan on
matter
the
whose
side
baby it
months
is.
earlier?
It doesn't matter whose
She is
baby
not
it is,
showing in
she
those guest
is
genes.
Not showing at all. She is flat tummy.
The way
Good
they
point.
explain this,
Good
the
point.
doctor says, "Oh." While they're doing the ultrasound, which by the way, that was an 80s ultrasound. They weren't routine.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh yeah, everything looks really healthy in here with this baby. He's a little big, but he looks healthy. Is that
a little big.
A little big is like a centimeter
I
bigger.
She
know.
was only a little pregnant.
Basically,
So it makes sense.
eight months into the pregnancy, after like 3 days. Alice's baby bump, she would have been fucking gigantic, but she's like
This-
perfectly flat stomached.
this
And-
umbilical cord shit made me hate this movie. I was like,
and
I turn on
she's
you.
obviously not when you look at those sweet ass stonewashed jeans.
Oh,
and her
exactly.
matching jacket.
Yep.
That's her
Yeah.
first kid. She's young.
Oh, and plus we saw don't forget the blue light sex scene already.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of blue light.
We saw her in the
Yeah.
shower. Yeah, her tummy is flat. She keeps it tight.
She
I
keeps
did
it
like
tight.
there was a cool effect though where like you go around the baby at this point.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Freddy's face.
Kind of comes up like
Kinda
behind
comes
the
out of
baby,
that.
like
It's
in
like
the
part
embryonic
of the
uterine
fluid.
wall.
part of the uterine wall. Yeah.
Yeah, like either wall, or like the fluid. Yeah, it's definitely. Which exactly my bigger band. He actually, and then Freddy says, "See a family resemblance" or something. You know, drops another wine line. Now we see these balls of white energy traveling down the umbilical cord. Now these balls morph into the dead versions of Dan and Greta right as they enter the baby's stomach, and Freddy says that's soul food for the baby.
Soul food.
I love that line. I love that line. I always thought this one. Such a dumb joke. I love it.
So Alice wakes up screaming because apparently she fell asleep during the ultrasound too, I guess, now. And asks, like, what's he doing to my baby? She tells Yvonne that Freddy is taking their souls and making her baby just like him. Yvonne at this point still continues to disbelieve her and like, what, nothing's happening, Alice, you're just being weird.
I don't think she fell asleep though. I think they determined that she could just, maybe she's just staring off in the distance, but when she's doing
but
these, she's like
she
having a
shoots up
vision.
screaming like she's not. Yeah.
But
That
maybe
could be
that's
it.
just the baby dreaming.
It's through the
you
baby.
know, the baby
It
dreams.
is.
Baby
so
dream- yeah.
Yes,
the
yeah.
baby dreams.
We've learned that babies dream after 3 days.
Yeah.
Science, because science.
Science. So, again, Yvonne keeps saying, "You're just tired, Alice. That old chestnut."
Yeah. Yvonne has really dug in with this.
Yeah, she is not letting
She's
go.
putting the blinders on completely. She's
digging
nah,
her trench.
This shit ain't
She
happening.
is holding her
You're
ground.
fucking cuckoo. 2 of my friends have died in the past 2 days, but
Under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah.
So now we jump to Alice and Yvonne entering Alice's bedroom again. And Alice is still trying to explain everything to Yvonne, and they end up arguing again over Freddy. Mark comes in carrying several like binders and folders and papers I guess he got from the library or whatever.
he dug deep. He found some shit.
Saying that we aren't the only ones who have dealt with Freddy or some bullshit like this.
Now they realize.
now! So apparently it's in the papers somewhere that this shit's happened. But
Historical
again,
documents.
What is happening?
Hey guys, guess what? This happened before. No shit.
We're not the only ones
It's
that
one
tell it, Freddy.
fucking street, asshole. Yeah, and he would have heard about this.
He shows up with like 3 binders full of information. And Yvonne's like, no, she just kicks it all over the fucking floor.
She will not believe it.
I'm not listening.
So yeah, Yvonne, defiant to the end, she knocks the papers out and she storms off, and she just leaves the room. So Mark suggests to Alice that there's no way to stop this, and there's only one way to stop this, and that is to not have the baby.
Which this
He asks. He doesn't like.
Well, yeah, he doesn't like. I'm dragging to the fucking Planned Parenthood.
Have you thought about not
stick the hanger up there himself or anything like that?
Well, let's think about this though. Maybe I'm going too deep, but that's kind of a huge social topic for a movie to touch on, like abortion in the 80s,
And
like
a lot of
late
teenagers
80s.
watching the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of a large thing because she's like, no, it's my responsibility. I'll keep it.
But see,
So it's
she
like,
does the right thing.
Yeah, she does. But that was
by
not
ruining her
mentioned.
future and not going to town to stay home and be a mom.
Good luck, sister.
Hey, but she's the one that spread her legs in that blue light.
She's right.
Yes.
For yeah, so this I mean to me that was kind of, I mean that's kind of a big thing
I agree.
for them to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for the
Absolutely.
for the
Touch on-
time.
it's
Yeah, I
kinda
mean, it was
mainstream
like
thing.
right
I
around the
didn't think about
90s.
that because now that because I'm
There's a
watching it
social
now, I just
message
kind of that kind of washed over me. But not thinking about that is an interesting
there's
point.
a social message.
But still, isn't there something? Just aside from the social message and everything, and then when it was brought
What
up, like,
stupid-
hey, you're kind of finding out that there's the reason you're having these visions is because of an unborn child, and you're having all this
Yeah.
stuff happening, and Freddy's just
possessed.
randomly like a vampire walking in the day, like you said
Right.
earlier. Why don't you just terminate the pregnancy and save all of our lives? She's like,
No,
No, this is
No.
my
no,
responsibility.
my
Nope.
lima bean is too important.
fuck all you
Dreaming.
guys.
He's dreaming already.
He's
Yes.
Perfect.
So
I mean, the movie could have taken a totally different turn if she would have went to have the abortion and then Freddy's fighting off the abortion.
That's way better social commentary.
whole movie
Way better. Way better social commentary there.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
So now it's Freddy against Planned Parenthood.
Again, copyright this shit right now.
Freddy's in the room trying to kick away the coat hangers.
Yes.
Oh,
Get away, get away.
And
Oh, I
then because
almost
it
loved
keeps
it.
cutting to Alice's visions, you just cut to her in the alley like,
I hope we get hate mail on this.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
Well, I mean, I already dropped the
Way.
C-bomb. So I can't get much worse from there.
Holy shit.
Woohoo! Number 100.
We're keeping it classy.
Sorry, Moon Goons, but due to the length of our 100th episode, we were forced to break it down into 2 episodes. So this is the end of part 1. Make sure you check out part 2 for the conclusion of our 100th episode, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.